We're live from our studio here, number 35, John Hammond Street in Accra. Hello, good morning to you. Welcome to the morning news on 3FM 92.7. My name is Noble Crosby Annan. Coming up this morning, former Auditor General Daniel Yao Domelivo proposes law to limit adjournment of cases by judges.
Not only lawyers that they can procure, they even can procure judges. The judge see your case so bad and you say, okay, what I can do to help you is that I'll keep adjourning it.
Also this morning, Lands Ministry reviews over 400 licenses of large-scale mining companies for possible revocation.
We have noticed that there have been some irregularities there as well. As I speak, about 400 licenses there are also being reviewed, and the outcome.
We'll get more in the bulletin. And incumbent President Alhassan Ouattara leads in Ivory Coast elections as of now. We have details of these stories and a lot more coming to you shortly. Please stay with us. Let's settle for the details of the stories. And former Auditor General Daniel Yao Domelivo has accused some corrupt public officials of manipulating the judicial system to delay corruption trials until their political parties return to power, thereby ensuring the cases are dismissed. Speaking in an interview on 3FM, Daniel Domelivo alleged that some politically exposed persons use their wealth to procure judges to obstruct justice.
And then they don't, not only lawyers that they can procure, they even can procure judges. The judge see your case so bad and you say, okay, what I can do to help you is that I'll keep adjourning it until there's a change in government. When your party comes, then they can throw it out. So the judges can also be part of it. In fact, I think that if we cannot do the same thing like 3 months or 6 months, even let's put it at 9 months or even a year, I have no problem. So judges who also breach this must be guilty of misconduct.
Former Auditor General Daniel Yao Domelivo speaking there. And now more than 400 large-scale miners stand the risk of losing their licenses if they are found to have breached the Mining and Minerals Act. This is because the government has triggered a review process of these companies aimed at sanitizing the system. And the review process comes on the back of a similar exercise which saw the revocation of some 278 licenses of small-scale miners. Spokesperson at the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, Pakwesi Shandov, spoke to 3FM.
As we progress, more and more would be done. In fact, as I speak to you, there's also another exercise that is focusing exclusively on the large-scale mining sector as well, because we have noticed that there have been some irregularities there as well. As I speak, about 400 licenses there are also being reviewed, and the outcome would also be communicated. And so all of this is part of government's efforts to sanitize the mining sector and ensure that we deal decisively with the menace of illegal mining.
Away from that, the National Council of Parent-Teacher Associations Ghana has thrown its weight behind the Education Minister, Harun Idrisu's directive for teachers and headmasters to enforce the policy of maintaining short hairs for girls in senior high schools. The minister said the government would not tolerate long hairs in any public senior high school as long as the characters of the students are being molded. First, take a listen to the Education Minister.
There is an ongoing debate in social media about haircuts and size and length of hair in secondary schools. We will not tolerate it today, we will not tolerate it tomorrow, and so long as we are molding character. If we give in to hair today, tomorrow it will be shoes, and the next day it will be the way they dress. Therefore, as part of our disciplinary measures, headmasters and GES, you are accordingly empowered to take full control of how students behave on your campuses.
Harun Idrisu is Education Minister speaking there. We can now take a listen to the Secretary of the National Council of PTAs, Raphael Gapsing, who spoke to TV3's News Central.
The general rule is that is the way we should go. That one, we can't do anything about it. You can't import a foreign law into our country. It doesn't work. We have our laws, and if you want to live in the space called Ghana, that jurisdiction, you have to go by our laws. But if we are able to agree, both the school management, the PTAs, and other stakeholders agree, look, in this school, let's have a barbering shop. Let's have a decent price fixed at the end of every month. Every school should be able to. I think when we do these things, and it's part of the school culture, it will make these things become a decent.
The General Secretary of the PTA speaking there. Away from that, former Information Minister and MP4 of Wasia Yoruba Kojo Nkrumah has warned the government to backtrack on attempt to criminalize speech in a new cybersecurity draft bill. According to him, the proposed legislation seeks to make it an offense to post or share comments in online chat groups that may be considered offensive. He addressed journalists at Parliament.
Policy that is submitted just mentions these programs, that will do a 1 million coders program aimed at training 1 million people for digital skills. People will say here, a figure is put by it. The minister will show up at committee level to defend his whole budget is approved. It doesn't mean that the program document has been brought to Parliament or has even been published. So as at now, you have 11 programs and initiatives that this government has launched on various platforms, and ministers have been giving hundreds of millions of Ghana cedis ostensibly to go and execute them. I can take you through the list. 1 million coders program, the 24-hour economy program, the jobs export program, the Jumera program, the national apprenticeship program, the Tree for Life program. Many people don't even know about it. The Accra Research program, the president launched it at the UN, the One Child, One Tree initiative. Then quite recently, they've launched the Ghana Infrastructure Plan, the free tertiary for persons with disabilities, and then the No Free Stress program. These are about 11 programs government has launched. And our argument is that not one of them has had the program document that tells you, so what is the target, what is the selection criteria, what is the results framework, what are the key performance indicators, so that you can exercise oversight. Even if not just by us members of Parliament, you, the media, do you know the details? Do civil society members know the details? Does the general public know? How does even an ordinary person know and access? So it's important that the program documents are properly laid before Parliament so that the work of oversight can start. My intelligence suggests that it's even been discussed at Cabinet, and the President has instructed that the minister should bring the program documents to Parliament. So I think it's important. We don't need to run away from it. The program documents need to come so that now Parliament is seized with it, and then oversight can start.
That's the voice of Kojo Nkrumah. He's ranking member on the Economy and Development Committee of Parliament, raising concerns and criticizing government for not submitting policy document for its flagship programs and initiatives for the 24-hour economy. Well, the ranking member on the Economy and Development Committee, Kojo Nkrumah, also told journalists that the move is undermining parliamentary oversight, despite a directive by the President for ministers to lay the program document before the House of Legislature. Let's now take a listen to Kojo Nkrumah as he raised concerns about the cybersecurity bill.
What we are seeing appears to be a draft, and that they want to consult on that draft. From what I have seen as a former information minister, this draft is dangerous, though it's not surprising. And let me explain why it's not surprising. It's not surprising because I think the president first announced it, that they are going to use the national security apparatus to go after people who make comments on social media that they consider, for whatever reason, whether it's under hate speech or it's under whatever, they consider it unfavorable. They're going to search for your IP addresses and then get the security apparatus to go after you. The president himself said it. So it's not surprising that his minister is now following up with a draft bill with such wild provisions in there. What is dangerous about it is that over the last set of decades, various countries have been moving away from criminalizing speech. there are other remedies for speech that may be deemed unfavorable, most of them civil, but not necessarily criminalizing it.
The voice of Kojo Opon in Kroma, the former information minister and MP for Fasia Rebi, warning government to backtrack on attempt to criminalize speech in a new cyber security draft bill. Now, before we go, former Ivory Coast Comments Minister Jean-Louis Bilsing has conceded defeat to incumbent Alhassan Ouattara in the country's presidential election. Early partial results show the latter with a strong lead nationwide. The initial results place the incumbent President Alhassan Ouattara in the lead, designating him the winner of this presidential election. Bilin said in a statement congratulating the president on Sunday. And Bilon was among 4 opposition candidates running against Ouattara, who is an 83-year-old former International Monetary Fund executive who is seeking a 4th term in office. That's it for the morning news on 3FM 92.7. There's more news on our website, 3news.com. I'll be back shortly with business news.
Sunrise on 3FM. The best in the morning. The best in the morning is on 92.7. Sunrise on 3FM.
3FM.
Hello again and welcome to the business segment on Sunrise on 3FM 92.7. Coming up this morning, government misses Treasury bill auction target despite accepting all bids offered amid yields remaining stable. And Importers and Exporters Association of Ghana, they are urging government to survey Chinese market for export opportunities. Plus, environmental and energy think tank SEMSA says tolling deal is key to the Tema oil refinery's revival. We have details of these stories and more coming to you shortly. Please stay with us. Let's get right into it, shall we? And government missed its funding target at the last domestic Treasury bill auction on Friday, October 24, 2025, despite accepting all bids submitted by investors. And government had set an ambitious target of 6.824 billion cedis, but received total bids amounting to 4.760 billion cedis across the 91-day, 182-day, and the 364-day maturities. The details are in the following report.
All offered bids were fully accepted by the government. The yields for the 3 instruments remained relatively stable, offering competitive rates to investors. The bulk of the investor interest was concentrated in the short-term market with a 91-day bill. The 91-day bill was the most subscribed, with bids totaling 3.487 billion cedis, all of which were accepted at a yield of 10.39%. The 182-day bill followed, receiving 785.31 million cedis in bids, which were also fully accepted at an interest rate of 11.73%. For the 364-day bill, bids amounted to 487.59 million cedis, with the government accepting the total amount at a yield of 11.40%. The shortfall highlights the ongoing challenges in domestic debt mobilization. Looking ahead, government plans to raise 5.329 billion cedis in the subsequent Treasury bill auction. With yields remaining relatively stable, market participants will be closely watching investor appetite for short-term securities amidst Ghana's ongoing fiscal adjustments.
That was a 3 Business News Desk report on government missing Treasury bill auction targets accepts all bids offered. Now, government must urgently conduct a market survey of China to identify in-demand commodities, according to the Executive Secretary of the Importers and Exporters Association of Ghana, Samson Asaki Awingobit. This call comes on the heels of President John Mahama's recent announcement that the Chinese government has granted Ghana tariff-free access for its export, a significant opportunity that experts say should be immediately leveraged. The Importers and Exporters Association emphasized the need to close Ghana's substantial trade gap with China. And Ghana's current exports to China average only 11% of total trade, while imports from China amount to a staggering 43% annually. The push to leverage the massive Chinese market is now critical, especially following the expiration of the U.S. Africa Growth and Opportunity Act, AGWA, last month. AGWA previously allowed certain Ghanaian goods to enter the United States on a tariff-free basis. Take a listen to the Executive Secretary of the Importers and Exporters Association of Ghana, Samson Asaki Awingobit.
The Chinese market is one of the biggest markets, and I think that is good agreement. But the point here is we need to do exhibitions, road shows. So what it means is that the Minister of Trade and Agribusiness, Ghana Export Promotion Authority, the Free Zones Authority, the ambassador to China will have to do extra work. There are millions of Chinese, and they have provinces, we have regions. What I expect government to tell us is to map out some of the provinces and know exactly what the Chinese market needs from Ghana. What we need to do is to deliberately carve out a policy that will make everybody, let's know what they need more from Ghana. If it is a coconut, let's plant more coconut. If there's an okra, let's do more okra farming. If it's a chili pepper, let us look for regions where chili pepper can produce and let go into large scale production of those commodities. If it's the ginger, dry ginger, or the fresh ginger, let us go. So let's profile to actually know what exactly they want.
Samson Asaki Awingobit speaking there. Moving on, the Tama Oil Refinery should be revived through a tolling agreement and arrangement, and not an outright sale, according to a strong recommendation from the Center for Environmental Management and Sustainable Energy, CEMSE. CEMSE argued that a pragmatic partnership-driven approach is the most sustainable way to restore TOR's operational and financial viability. Executive Director of CEMSE, Benjamin Insia, told Through Business that TOR has already demonstrated its ability to generate significant income when managed efficiently. The center pointed to the refinery's recent financial performance, which included a reported $21 million in revenue generated solely from terminal operations.
Tama Oil Refinery is in a financial crisis because their equities are in negative, their liabilities are outweighing their assets, and for that matter, they don't have the financial muscles to access credit from any financial institution. And also, we don't think the government of Ghana will guarantee them to be able to access any credit facility. Neither will government of Ghana also fund them directly from their consolidated fund. So there's a limited opportunity for them to get any fund to be able to procure crude for their refinery process. And we think that since we want Tama Oil Refinery to work effectively to help stabilize our currency and also ensure energy security, is good they engage third party or engage certain partners to begin to render tolling services to these partners. Some of these activities de-risk their finances and push them to a position of only benefiting from services rendered to these third-party companies without incurring certain liabilities that also go to affect the companies. This tolling model will de-risk their activities from any financial liability or financial burden.
Benjamin Insia is the Executive Director of CEMSE speaking there. Now, Ghana's crucial economic lifeline is facing renewed pressure after a sharp sell-off in the global commodities market saw gold prices plummet by over 6% in less than 48 hours. An ounce of the precious metal lost in excess of $300 in value, with prices currently sitting around $4,134 per ounce. The worry is a continued drop will impact the city negatively.
The price volatility hits close to home for Ghana, where gold generates about 64% of total export earnings. So far this year, the gold industry has been a primary driver of macroeconomic stability, earning more than $8 billion and enabling the Bank of Ghana to shore up its reserves and support the local currency, the cedi. Finance and tax expert Nelson Kujoku-Agbeji warned that if the downward trend persists, the nation risks a significant decline in its reserves.
The reduction in the price of gold per ounce is just a corrective measure, because anytime a price of a commodity rises sharply, which is a bit artificial, the price has to correct itself. The marginal reduction in the price of gold is not a worry at all, even though when it continues that way, it's going to impact negatively on our gross international reserve.
Executive Director for the Center for Policy Scrutiny, Dr. Edu Owusu-Sarkodie, points to increased gold outputs as one way for Ghana to mitigate the price shock.
The drop in the price of gold, Ghana can still benefit if we increase volume. We get the numbers by multiplying the price by the quantity that we produce. So if the price is dropping, you can still increase the volume and you will still get the value.
Crucially, both analysts agreed that the long-term solution lies in a structural shift towards value addition exports.
When you are managing an economy and you get to a point that things are not going as you expected, you have to change the gear. You have to look at the other areas. Ghana and many African countries are well known for exporting raw materials. Time to stop our dependence on raw materials.
The diversification principle of the economy, we need to move away from commodities to a more value-added commodities that when it comes to pricing, arises in terms of volatility, will not be so much affected.
And now let's take a look at how the cedi is performing against major trading currencies and how some commodities are also faring on the global market. On the interbank foreign exchange markets, the dollar is selling at 10 cedis 80 pesos. It's recorded no change. The British pound is selling at 14 cedis 38 pesos. It's recorded no change. The euro is selling at 12 cedis 54 pesos. It's also recorded no change. However, be guided that these figures could be higher at the Forex Bureau near. On the global commodities markets, Brent crude is trading at $65.94 per barrel. Gold is trading at $4,113 per ounce, down by $13. Cocoa is trading at $6,319 per ton, down by $20. And that was a trip on the global markets there. That's how we wrap up on the business news on Sunrise on 3FM 92.7. The small business news on our website, 3news.com. My name is Noble Crosby Annan. Sunrise continues after this. Have a great morning.